It's dead. Say something, somebody, so I know that it's working. I feel all alone. Come back. Wow. It is stopped. There we go. Woohoo. Okay. Now I know it's working. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Um, as you might, hello, Daryl Berman, Rick Cabot Podmore, Darren Fletcher. Who else? Alex Dillon, Smith Sisters Bluegrass. Good afternoon. Darren Moss says it's working there. Nancy Kalel, hello. My lighting is making me look very red today, and it's the same lighting I always use. Hello, John Pearson, Peter Rahill, Spiritual. The gang is all here. So, you might have noticed, look where I am. Am I at the office? Why no, I'm not. I made an 11th hour decision. Hello, Jan Weilage, Pete Mason. I think it was Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening. Deb and I started talking about it. We were a little worried. Yes, the t-shirt does match. It's my official taxi yellow shirt. It's not home again, still home. We started talking about the numbers were spiking as far as the number of COVID infections, and wondering how much of that was due to massively increased testing. How much of it is related to the fact that cities around the country are opening back up again, and then we started hearing about a bunch of 20 to 30 somethings going out to happy hours in bars and blowing kisses at each other. No, actually drunken rants, probably. You know, have you ever noticed that when you're drinking, you tend to speak more loudly, and the people speaking to you are speaking more loudly, and you're getting spittle in the face? This is why I don't like going to bars, because I'm personally not a fan of getting spittle in my face. Not even a little bit. So we just kept talking about it, and kept going online and researching it and watching more news. And before I knew it, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. And I said to Deb, I'm going to make a decision when we wake up tomorrow. And next morning, I just decided, you know what? There was nothing that was really pressing for us to go back to the office so quickly. Not that we're so quickly. I think we're a month behind everybody else. I was over at our office this morning, and the parking lot was essentially full. Everybody else is back but us. And, you know, more than anything, I want my staff to feel comfortable. I want them, I mean, look, there are 10 of us in about 4,500 square feet. So it's not like social distancing will be a problem once we get there. But emotionally, you know, I want people to have a level of comfort. Obviously, you know, if staff members are still nervous, you know, months from now, I mean, we got to go back at some point. Hi, Carosa. No, I'm not back at the office. None of us are. I was just telling everybody I made the executive decision on Sunday, early Sunday, after debating it quite a bit on Saturday, to stay away for 2 more weeks. We're going to go back on July 13th, I believe. You know, it's just the only reason we really need to go back right now is now that Bria's gone. Liz will be moving from her job into a marketing position working with Ariana. And I'm anxious to get Liz in there and get her trained and get those two working comfortably and productively together. But we've got to find a new person to replace Liz and have Liz train that new person. And it would be virtually impossible to train somebody remotely. So we won't do the, maybe we'll do some cursory interviews on Skype or something before we go back to the office, but we'll get serious with the finalists once we get back there and get somebody hired. And there you go. So, you know, just being really cautious. And, oh, wow, there's that hawk. Oh, it's not a hawk. That is actually a falcon. Wow, that is a falcon sitting in the tree right out there. No, Liz is not leaving. Bria left. And so Liz is going to move into the office with Ariana and work on all the marketing. Up there it goes, and social media and all that kind of stuff. So no, Liz is definitely not leaving. Liz is a keeper. We love Liz, and she's not even in the chat room, and I'm saying that. Hey Cass, how are you, buddy? I want to say congratulations, a nice mazel tov going out to Mr. McKenty. He is now the proud, well, not the father of two baby goats, but the grandfather of two baby goats. They're adorable. He sent me a picture of them. Seriously, I love dogs. I love puppies that grow up into big burly dogs. I'm not really a fan of, I don't hate little dogs. I just prefer my dogs large so you can like go roll around with them in the grass and throw frisbees and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, I've got to say, as you guys know, I've been falling in love with goats now for about 5, 6 years, something like that. And Cass sent me the picture of these two little kids. They are so cute. They look to be about, I don't know, the size of a poodle right now. And their little faces, you just want to smush your cheek up to their little cheeks and, wow. Anyway, congratulations. If you roll around with a small dog, you can squash him. That's right. Goat love. Yes. Yeah, big dogs are the best. I love big dogs. I always had German Shepherds as a kid growing up. Cass has 2 kids. They're 3 days old. Wow. How much do they weigh, Cass, give or take? Are they like 3-pounders at this point? Today's episode, I always feel so bad for people that tune into these things and don't know. 2.5 pounds. Wow. Adorable. Hello, Mark Reel. Do I like big or small goats? I've got to say, I like all size goats. Pygmy goats are adorable. It's awesome when a pygmy goat runs at your leg, and like butts you with their little head in the back of your, like in your calf. And it's just adorable because they're like so determined. Like, I'm going to, freak you out, butt you in the back of the leg, and it doesn't even hurt. I imagine it would hurt if you got butted by a big one. But yeah, goats are just funny. They've got personalities. They're smart. They're extremely playful. These are dwarf Nigerian, super friendly, and the best milk. I just had a visual I don't even want to describe. But I do love goat milk. When I go grocery shopping, if they've got goat milk on the shelf, I will buy goat milk from Meyenberg, I think it's Meyenberg Farms. Haven't seen it lately, probably due to the COVID. So yeah. Anyway, goats. That's enough of goats. So I want to repeat again. We're still out of the office, out of an abundance of caution, and I've asked that everybody in the staff, obviously it's volunteerism or voluntary, that everybody should get tested before we go back. I just want everybody to be super comfortable and not worry that they're walking into the infection chamber. John Hemingway, cruel, cruel, cruel. Hey, Gloria, how are you? Okay, so that's that. Yeah, honestly, I haven't watched a lick of news today, not even this morning, I don't think. What's going on with the whole COVID situation? I just saw somebody mention that they're locking down Myrtle Beach again. Like literally locking it down like when we were back in full-on quarantine, or just locking down the bars and businesses? Yes, and the Quarantini does live on. California is going backward. Well, isn't that funny? For a progressive state, we're going backward. From what we're reading about here in Australia, Fauci says it's going up in USA, not just due to testing. He said 100,000 cases a day if on current trajectory. May not be your neck of the woods. Now, Los Angeles is going back up. I mean, I heard that all weekend. Many of the major cities are. And there's some debate that I saw over the Rick White says couldn't be the riots. Well, that was exactly the debate that I was hearing. When you've got hundreds of thousands of people all over the country out protesting shoulder to shoulder, although the majority of them were wearing masks, although I saw a video over the weekend of a protest somewhere, and I would say 80% of the people in that crowd were not wearing masks. What the hell are they thinking? I don't get it. It's just not that hard to put a friggin' mask on your face. Hello, Anne. How are you? So, who knows? Interestingly enough, though, it took me quite some time the other day to find charts about deaths, the death rate, and hospitalizations in the U.S. I mean, seriously, you would think that they were trying to hide it. I'm sure they weren't, but you could find every other kind of chart. You could even find charts of infections by various ethnicities, infections by various age groups. They had all this stuff broken down, but I just wanted a plain old chart. Show me the graph of the number of hospitalizations and the number of deaths. And as of probably Thursday and then Saturday again, I think I checked, both hospitalizations and deaths were down. And I do think that Fauci or somebody addressed that over the weekend, saying that, the treatments are better now and they know more about the disease. And I've got to believe that not sending elderly people with COVID back into the nursing homes from, where they came, probably a good idea. And I did hear some mention that a couple of the big cities, even though they expected hospitalizations to go up, they felt like they were much better prepared and that they still had 80% unfilled capacity of the COVID beds, not the regular beds. Those were normal. But the rooms or beds that they set aside for COVID patients actually, hey, Scott Hansen, they weren't stressing those out. So we'll see. It all remains to be seen. But again, I just thought it was prudent. There's a big word, or a very grown-up word. I felt it was prudent to not ask the staff to come back just yet, because I've got to say the staff has been working so beautifully in this remote scenario that I couldn't be happier about that. So what are your lips sealed about? Just got done making lasagna. Dr. Burke said we know more about treatment. I believe she's right. Dr. Burke's has the biggest selection, if I've never mentioned this before, the largest selection of Hermes scarves of any woman on the planet. Man, oh man, I don't think I've seen her to this day. I don't think she's had the same scarf on twice. U.S. and global death rate still at 5%, although death rate lags behind the infection by the incubation time up to 2 weeks. That is true. So that. You know what? That was actually the deciding factor for me. I figure, we'll wait 2 weeks and see. If the death rate starts to go up, then I'll make yet another decision. If it doesn't seem to be affected, because they do keep saying that many, the greater percentage, not 80 or 90%, but I think they're saying 60% of the infections are with people in the 18 to 49 age group. Do screeners continue screening? Yeah, the screeners have been screening remotely this entire time. Sealed to politics. Not sure what that means. All right. Do seals vote? Because I know where a bunch of them hang out in one of the marinas around here. All right. So there you go. Let's see. What else can I talk about today? 2 big cruise ships parked off the beach, awaiting their turn to come into the harbor. Interesting. Bark, bark. Lips are sealed. Oh, okay. Behave yourself, Rick. Who here still watches TV? Yeah, we should add seals to the gophers and goats. I still have a persistent gopher in the backyard. I'm guessing it might be a baby because the holes that it's making or the mounds are pretty small. And it shows up very infrequently and so far has eluded all of the relocation devices that I put out there. Ann House has a grasshopper infestation. Any tips? Yeah, get grasshopper hawk. Boy. Nancy says, none of these stats make me feel any better. My very dear friend just passed away in Tucson 2 days ago from coronavirus. I'm sorry to hear that. Just wear a mask. I care about all of you. Yeah, we should make masks requisite for the show, you know? They haven't proved yet that COVID can or cannot go down a wire. I'm a new member. Would you mind mentioning where to get an ISRC number? John Pearson, do you want to field that one? I know that like when you manufacture discs through disc makers, don't you get an ISRC number with that? Pearson goes, um, I think ISRC is it's part of the barcoding system, is it not? No, ISRC is definitely not necessary for submissions. If you have a BMI or an ASCAP number, you still don't need that to submit to taxi. But and frankly, as we've discussed many times on various taxi TVs, um, more and more libraries will want to register your stuff with BMI or ASCAP, so it's actually more convenient for them if you don't. An ISRC code, International Standard Recording Code, is not required to be encoded on your CD, but a field is provided in the master uploader application. There you go. Thank you, Edmund. Um, yep, free barcoding through disc makers. Yeah, you know, I should make some taxi masks. Oh, good, Mark. Mark Reel says, I listen more closely to music cues on TV because of my taxi membership. I'm learning a bunch. That's great. It's the best education out there. Darren Moss, I'm setting up a studio on advice from Quarantini, so I want to thank Michael and John Pearson and others for the advice along the way. Now won't have to hire studios and session musicians all the time. Great. Congratulations, Darren. It's a big step, and yeah, there's a learning curve, but you seem like a relatively smart guy. I'm sure you'll get it. No, look, so many people do it, it can't be that hard. Trevor Fury says, I totally do that now too. I watch TV and take notes. Great. Seriously, literally the roadmap is staring you in the face every time you sit down and watch TV. Yeah, it's hard to separate, like the storyline or the action from the music, but you have to kind of train yourself to listen to the music. And then, so there's three stages. There's one where you intend to listen to the music and get distracted by the actual show. Number two is that you're able to focus on the music. And number three is when you focus on the music and understand why that piece of music worked well in that scene. That's that's where you want to be, and you'll get there. Um, yeah, it's the greatest thing in the world to do, I believe. Oh, anyone else scramble an R&B tune for yesterday's short notice listing? Yeah, I'm curious to see how many of you guys submitted for that. Um, John Pearson did not. Okay, I've got to tell you something, and I'm not going to use this person's name, but here's how our Sunday evening went at the Lasco household last night. I think it was about 10:30. Deb said, "I'm going up. Are you coming up?" Meaning upstairs to the bedroom. And I said, "Yeah, I'll be right there." Of course, I sat down right here in front of the computer, and I checked for emails. And I had a tab open in my browser for LinkedIn, and I see that I have a message in LinkedIn. So I clicked on it, and here's what the message said. And I want you to know everything turned out great, and the guy turned out to be a nice, respectful young man. But I did have to give him a bit of a stern dad lecture, and you'll see why. "Hi, I signed up with Taxi. I tried submitting to taxi number S200629UR on 3 different computers. When I hit submit, a page saying, 'We're sorry, but something went wrong. If you are the application owner, check the logs for more information,' came up. This happens when trying to submit to any listing. The listing was put up last minute. I only had a weekend to write and submit a song for this posting. It expires at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time on Monday, June 29th, which was last night. Note the time and date of this message. I'm well within the deadline, exclamation point. Follow the link to my," it doesn't say song, and there was a link where you could listen to the song. Here's the clincher, though. "I demand that Taxi review my song. I already paid for the membership and spent days working on this song. Thank you." So he did send it to member services, which was the right thing to do. But of course, we work 9 to 6 on Pacific hours. So being the customer service centric company that Taxi is, I marched right upstairs it had to be 5 after 11, 10 after 11, quarter after 11, sometime shortly after 11. I go upstairs, and Deb is already nodded off with HGTV on the TV. That's why I was in no hurry to get upstairs. Enough as I can handle one of those shows per day. Anyway, she's already groggy, and I don't think she had her little sleeping mask on yet. Maybe she had the earplugs in. I don't know. Anyway, so I gave her a little, grabbed her knee and gave it a little wiggle. "Honey, you got to get up. I need you to make a submission," because she has a subscriber, like a member account, whereas my account, that whole back end is like, King of the World account. And it's actually hard for me to make a submission as a member would make it. So I asked her to make a submission, and she did, and it worked out fine. So she sent an email to this gentleman who was in Salt Lake City, I believe. Actually, he was a student at Brigham Young University, and a fine institution at that. So she sends him an email and says, "I'm going to call you in 5 minutes." She was going to walk him through the submission process. So this is the kind of customer service you get from Taxi. At 11:30 p.m. on a Sunday night, the owner of the company's wife has gotten out of bed, grabbed her laptop, tested a submission, and is now trying to reach out to this gentleman to walk him through the submission process. So she sends him an email. 5 minutes later, she calls him because, she star 67'd her phone, so he couldn't grab her number. He didn't answer the phone. A few minutes later, she tries calling him again, no answer. Eventually, we get an email from him saying, "I'm so embarrassed. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that you had to complete your profile before making a submission." So it was user error, and I sent him a message back on LinkedIn saying, "Look here, young man." I was nice about it and professional about it, but it mattered to me that this young man, who I'm guessing is 20-ish, when you start writing sentences that say, "I demand that Taxi review my song," could you imagine if he said that to like a music library owner or a record label executive or a music supervisor? "I demand that you reconsider my song for that slot in that movie." Oh my goodness. Anyway, so I just said to him, you got to work on your professionalism, because demanding anything like that is not. You're not going to look professional, and it's a small industry. Word gets out anyway. So he sent back a very nice and extremely apologetic letter, and thanked me for the life lesson, and told me he would never forget it. So yay, I saved another one. And my wife, good wife, when you can wake her up after 11 o'clock at night and say, "Honey, I need you to go to work for a half an hour." So there you have it, the story of Taxi's Sunday night customer service department. All right, let's see. Is Emphatic is not in the room today, is he? Scott says, "Thank you for the submission advice. I look forward to talking to your wife." I demand the taxi refill my song. Oh no, that's his bong. Deb is a legend, but I taught her everything she knows now. Actually, she's one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. She can be spunky, but she has a golden heart. She really does. Thank you for that compliment, Pete Mason and Joseph Alonso. At least he didn't forward his phone call to a call center in Pakistan. Nope, we've not done that. Jess Kerrigan wants to know, do you have any thoughts on whether to hold off on registering works with your PRO until you've actually signed them somewhere? The libraries will register them because in virtually all cases, they get the publisher share, you get the writer share. So they'll take care of the registration. You will go in there as the writer and get your percentage. Poppy Paul, if you're talking to me about the manual focus, I have tried so hard. When we get back into the office, Ariana's pretty good at tech stuff. I'm going to have her take a look at it, but I keep going into the Logitech control center for this camera, and it has the autofocus thing grayed out. I've hit everything. I've literally torn it apart, and it says I've got another application running using the camera. I do not. I could have everything in this computer shut down except for this program, or actually not even this program. Every application shut down except for the Logitech camera app, and it still says it's being used elsewhere. I don't get it. Okay, what was the question? Thoughts on, okay, I already talked about that. Wow, Pierre went to a jam session in Hong Kong since February, finished late. Nice. Edmund Red, whoa. Where did that go? Here it is. What if the publisher already registered your tracks, but they're still not showing in your PRO? Who should you contact? I would reach out to the publisher and let them know that, because they don't make money. If it's not showing up in the PRO, you're not making money and they're not making money. So they would definitely want to know that, especially if they were the ones responsible for registering it. Some libraries ask for you to register first before submitting to them if you're submitting directly. It's true. Some do, some don't. Well, first of all, there's the issue of, are they retitling? Is it a non-exclusive and they're doing a retitle? Poppy Paul, get a new camera. This is about the best webcam you can buy. I mean, you know, short of buying like a $2,500 one. In the metadata for the MP3s, we just need the title, artist, writer, date, genre, contact email. Yeah, phone number wouldn't hurt. And percentage splits if you are a co-writer on it. They need to know who the other writers are and what everybody, as the CIA is using my camera, they're not going to see much in this house. And people say, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you've got an Amazon, whatever they call it, Alexa." We've got one in the bedroom. People are like, they're listening to everything. Nothing that exciting. I mean, just normal stuff. But I just have to stay right under my halo. There you go. Ah. All right. So, Ken Mesford, I'm guessing you asked the question that Ariana gave me. Where'd it go? Ken Mesford is asking, why do libraries not want to hear music from newbies? It's not that they don't want to hear your music, Ken. What it is there are people out there who are really talented musicians making great music. So let's say Taxi forwards a piece of music to library XYZ. The person in charge of reaching out to musicians reaches out, says, "Hey, Ken, great track you sent in. I really like it. I'd be interested in signing it. Would you be interested in doing a deal with us?" Ken says, "Why, sure, I would be very interested. Okay, we will send you the contract." And of course, the musician is elated, just, so excited about having somebody offer them a contract. Excuse me, and a day goes by, no contract shows up. Excuse me, in the email. 2 days go by, no contract. 3 days, a week, 10 days, no contract. What kind of schlock operation is that? They said they were going to send me a contract. In the musician's mind, they are, in their mind, just in their little mind's eye, they're myopically just seeing their scenario, their life, their interaction with that company. And they're not seeing the bigger picture, and I understand why. They've never sat in the chair of that person at the library. But that person at the library is on the phone and doing emails all day long, pitching music, answering briefs. They also have to take all that music that they ingest and do the due diligence, as our mystery library owner explained a few weeks ago on the show. So they have to do a lot of stuff. It's not as easy as, "I love this track, here comes contract." So now the musician is getting upset and worried. It's like, you said you were going to send a contract. Well, I did, but it's coming. And then the musician gets the contract and says, "Oh my gosh, you guys are an exclusive library. I don't do deals with exclusive libraries. I don't want to tie my music up with just one company." But yet the Taxi listing said the word exclusive in all caps somewhere in the first paragraph, and again in all caps somewhere in the last paragraph. So twice in the listing it said exclusive. And there are many, many cases where library owners have reported to me that the musicians have gotten downright nasty with them. It's like, well, why are you even reaching out to me if you're an exclusive company? Because you submitted your music to a listing that said we are an exclusive company. So for those reasons and many others, I'm trying to think of some other ones. Like, can you send me stems from my willow tree or from my tomato plant? What do you mean stems? People that are underinitiated, they don't watch Taxi TV, they don't go to the road rally, they don't read the newsletter, they don't hang out in the forum. There's a lot of stuff that they don't know. They think it's just merely about making great music, and you love my music, therefore my heart is warmed. But there's the business side. We talk about this endlessly on the show, and so that's why libraries are starting to say, it's not that they're not saying we don't want to hear music from newbies. They're saying we want to work with people who know the drill. Here's another one. You get the contract and it says we get 100% of the publisher's share. And then you reach out to that old college friend of yours that became a real estate attorney, but took a couple of music law classes back in 1984, and you send it to that person, and this erstwhile music attorney, in quotes, says, "Oh my gosh, I would never sign that contract. They're taking 100% of the publisher share. They're ripping you off. They're not giving you a dance, blah, blah, blah." Well, he knows about that stuff in the context of what a typical record side of the industry publishing deal looks like, not what it looks like on the music library side. As I've stated many times on the show, there's kind of a range of types of contracts that are all familiar and normal in the music library world. From, every now and then you might run into something that's a bit of a head scratcher in a contract. Go on the forum and ask your fellow members, are you guys familiar with what this sentence or this clause means? Have you ever signed a deal with this company? And don't put the company name in there. So that's what they want. They want people who, once they reach out and say, would you be interested in signing with us? We really like your stuff. They might even say, can you make me 9 more of those? I'd like to do a whole collection, a CD of your dramedy stuff. Well, yeah, I can, but shoot, that's going to take me about 6 months. So they want people that know the drill, both from a musical standpoint and a business standpoint, and are pretty quick in their home studios and productive, so that if they say, can you make me 9 more of those and give me a CD's worth, not that it's actually going on a CD, but they still kind of use that language. They want somebody who says, yes, I can, and let's see, it takes me about 4 hours to do a dramedy cue. I can do 2 a day. Therefore, I can have it for you in a week. And then you actually live up to that promise of the delivery date. That's why they want to work with experienced people. What if I was to submit a wealth of material? I'm not sure what a wealth of material is. That could be, it's a term that's defined by the person who's saying it. I'm not really sure. Pete Mason says, anyone listen to the Spitfire Westworld scoring competition winner? It certainly caused a stir among the composer community. You can find it on YouTube. It'd make it a great topic of discussion. Yeah, is there, why? Did everybody feel like the winner wasn't that good, or did Hans Zimmer win it? Scott Hansen, I signed a CD deal with Sony. I have to buy 10 CDs a month for 2 years. Oh, there goes the squirrel. 24 minutes late. Yeah, Pete, we want to know what's contentious about it. No, don't be aware. If the publisher in the land of music libraries or music licensing companies, if they want 100% of the publisher's share, that's normal. That's nothing to worry about. That's completely and utterly normal. I'd be surprised if you got a deal where you didn't give up 100%. There are exceptions, but usually for composers that have made a lot of money for certain libraries and they've got some leverage. You keep 100% of the writer's share. So basically, it's a 50-50 deal. If they make money, you make money. I'm not knocking Hans. That's right. Jesse's right. He was hiding from the falcon up in the tree. So Mark Real wants to know, should I not register future songs in my ASCAP publishing account until after I submit to Taxi and wait to hear if they're forwarded or not? By registering it with your PRO, it doesn't offer any copyright protection, right? And if you register the copyright and the library picks it up, they're going to have to amend do a transfer in the PRO registration, and they're going to need to file an amendment to the copyright registration. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong about that, but I think I'm right. I still want to hear about the competition. What happened? Spill the beans. John Pearson says, I've signed both exclusive and non-exclusive. The non-exclusive songs I only pitch to other non-exclusive that pitch in a different world. I'm not sure what that means. Is that code? Kind of like covering different levels of pitches. I gotcha. Okay. So you wouldn't sign the same piece of music to three non-exclusive libraries that all pitch regularly to the Kardashians. You might look for another non-exclusive library whose main client is The Bachelor, let's say. Um, Ken, it's not like the screeners. No, I mean it gets Taxi in trouble. I get the phone calls from library owners. It's COVID has garnered me many, many, many phone calls from library owners. More so of late in the last like 3 or 4 weeks. I'm just like probably 2 or 3 times a week. Library owners call me up and go, "Hey, bud, just checking in. How you doing?" Like, fine. How are you? Still quarantined over there? Yes, we are. um, and so that's when things come up in the conversations. Like I told you, I got that call last week from the library owner that is booked, I think, in the middle of August. He needed that much time to assemble the list. He first of all he did was rave, not just say, I'm happy with great music coming from Taxi, but was literally raving about the quality of music and the unexpected quality in unexpected genres that he was getting from Taxi members. But he goes, man, oh man, some of these people, it's like you listen to the music and you assume that they know the business side, because if they're that professional on a musical level, that they must be equally professional on a business level. And they said, and then you talk to them and just some of the stuff that they do or don't know. So that's why we spend an inordinate amount of time. I spend a lot of time repeating myself, not just talking about fish and gophers, but actually music business stuff, because I want you guys to be good enough that the libraries love working with you. There's no better thing you can do as a business person than be a professional and make life easy for the person you're doing business with. They want to move quickly and they want to get stuff right on the first pass. They want you to be a go-to client, a go-to writer for them. And really, assuming that everybody's music is like, if you're in their catalog, you're already over their quality bar. So then the differentiating factors are, which genres are you good in? But the biggest one is, are you easy to work with, reliable, and professional? And you can't just like think that about yourself. Like, yeah, I'm professional. I'm sure that young man that fired off the letter demanding that we listen to his music didn't realize how incredibly unprofessional he was being last night. But I've got to say, I give the young man a lot of credit. He was extremely nice in his response to me chewing him out in a very kind way. Stern, but kind. I wanted to, make sure that this kid, he actually used the word entitled. I think in an apology email that he sent to Deb, he said something about, I'm so embarrassed for acting entitled. And that's exactly right. And, I'm sure that some people would make the argument that generation, like the college age generation, there is a certain amount of entitlement. It goes with the age category, I think. I'm sure I was entitled when I was 21 or whatever. So, yeah, I just didn't want to see another life wasted. You can make the greatest music in the world, but if you're a jerk, yep. Oh, that's right. I should do some poses for Ariana. She needs those still shots for the thumbnails. I'm paying on my second set of dues. Wow. The winning entry of the Spitfire competition has a Mario Kart 8-bit production style smack bang in the middle of an epic score. It was deemed a joke entry by many. Maybe it was cutting edge, Pete. Maybe it was too cutting edge. All right, Ariana says she's got one. We're good to go. You sure? I'm feeling very, I don't know. I can't think of the word. Very photogenic today. Piano by Steven. Exclusive libraries want your music for 1 year, 2 years, etc. What's a comfortable period of time for you to commit your songs to an exclusive library? Um, Here's the thing. Uh, is it Steven Piano? Piano by Steven. Here's the thing. You could make a friend in the chat room, and the friend says, oh yeah, I work with library XYZ. I've been working with them for years. They've gotten me a lot of placements. They're a pleasure to work with. It's a great relationship. And then you get 2 or 3 things picked up by that library, and you go for a period of 2 years and you get nothing. Nothing. And you're thinking, wow, they must, this guy is paying them under the table who's getting all these placements, or he must be the guy's brother-in-law, or there's something political going on. It's probably none of that. Probably what it is that an editor working on a particular show discovered, and I say that in air quotes, discovered that this particular composer in XYZ library makes the kind of cues that work really well in the context. I love that word, context, in the context of that show. So it's not like the music library owner is out there picking up the phone. Hey, you got to use Bob's stuff. You got to use Bob's stuff. No, you've got to use Bob's stuff. Everybody's got to use Bob's stuff. That's not the way library business works. Very often, especially in the context, that word, of reality shows, they've got 2,000 pieces of music from this library, 5,000 from another one, 6,200 from another one. The music supervisor, who is kind of the music supervisor overlord of several of the shows, the reality shows typically, that company works on, will say which ones go with the general audio palette of that particular show. And so that, let's say that they've got 18,000 total tracks in the bucket. The music supervisor probably whittles it down to 6,000, a third of them. And now the editor has 6,000 approved tracks that the supervisor thinks would work well in the context of that particular show's audio palette. So when the editor is doing his or her job and they're looking for music and they find something they like, they go, oh, I like this guy's style. Yeah, and he gets the rules. He's got some edit points built in there. He's got a dynamic, build. He's got developmental arc. It's got a stinger ending. It's got all the right stuff in it. And it really fits the personality of the show, the sonic palette, and this scene. So the next time the editor is looking for a similar cue, he may not want to use that exact cue because the show's executive producers generally don't like it when they repeat a lot of the same cues. Sometimes they don't like to repeat them even within a season, but certainly not in a show. It does happen, but it doesn't happen often. So if he sees, John Pearson's stuff when he's looking for that next cue, he will at least remember, oh yeah, that's that composer whose stuff I really liked, and reaches back into the bucket of John Pearson cues and finds a different cue. So that's why that composer gets more placements in the very same catalog that somebody else who's a newer composer may not. It might have just been a stroke of luck that the editor landed in the John Pearson portion, or maybe John Pearson's got a lot more dramedy cues than you do, and you're in the same catalog. Maybe your stuff is big orchestral stuff. Maybe they don't do a lot of shows that ask for orchestral. So there are all these various factors that go into the formula that dictates how well you're going to do in a particular library. But it is very unrelated to the old school publishing model that the record industry always worked in, which is we sign writers, they submit songs to us, we go, yep, that's a good one, we're going to go out and we're going to shop that. And then they start thinking, okay, they go into a casting session for that song. Which artist would love this song? Which artist would put this song on their record, and then they start picking up the phone and sending out emails to the manager, the producer, the A&R person from that label, pitching that song because the publisher believes it would work well for that particular artist. That's not the way it goes in the TV music business. There are exceptions, but they're extremely rare. I would never put my bet on the exceptions. Go with the closest you can get to the sure thing. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold on. We had an eagle caught on video catching a 5 or 6 pound Spanish mackerel right out of the surf, then gliding off into the wind, coming through high rises on the beach. Nice. This poor fish had no idea. It's like the gopher that got nailed by the falcon in my backyard. One minute you're out there just chewing on some plant's root, and the next thing you know, you're holding on for dear life at 200 feet above sea level, saying, please let me go, please let me go. David Gantz, have you listened to any of my songs? If you're asking me the question, no, I haven't, because I don't do any of the screening anymore. It's been years. I do hear taxi member music when something really good bubbles up. Screeners or the staff will bring it down, and down to the West Wing, as I call it, and listen, play it for me in my office. Wow, 4:52. Let's see if there's anything else that I planned on chatting about today. Pretty much covers it for me. I've read Fett's book, Mixing Roadmap. It's excellent. First of all, Fett is a great engineer. He's not just good aesthetically or creatively. He's a great guy for technical explanations. He's super smart, but he speaks in a way that anybody can understand it. Taxi TV is my cooking music. I haven't decided when we're going to do the episode where we play more members' music. I was kind of waiting for us to go back to the office just because I want Ariana to have a chance to get settled in. She's now doing the work of her and Bria mostly. Bria is still doing some lingering tasks for us. Just talked to her today, actually. I had a nice little video chat with her today. But I want to give Ariana a chance to get settled in and kind of find her rhythm. And I think she's probably ahead of the game because I know she's quite the taskmaster with me. Sometimes I feel like I've got multiple wives. I've got Deborah here under the roof. Like, did you take the garbage out? What are we having for dinner tonight? All that kind of husband stuff. Yeah, I do the dinners. I've got Angel pestering me about stuff like, hotel contracts and accounting stuff and staff issues, blah, blah, blah. And then I've got Ariana bugging me in a nice way, professional way, and persistent way, but kindly persistent about doing, have you checked these emails? Have you written the new subject line? Have you edited that paragraph? So yes, I have many, many taskmasters. Yeah, Fett's book, you got to get it. John Pearson, I completely agree with you. If you're pitching to artists, I would copyright the stuff, register the copyright. Does Ariana demand? No, she does not. As Tony Robbins said, can I? Constant and never-ending improvement. The theme for today is politely reprimanding people. No, so I'm not going to... It takes a lot of work on Ariana's part. The days that we do the music listening stuff, Here's a great example of people not having their act together. We send out an email that probably has it at least in capital letters, all caps, if not in bold, maybe even highlighted in yellow, where it says, make sure the music you submit is streamable and downloadable. And I would say probably 30% of the people that submit don't follow that. So, that's roughly a third of all the people that submit can't follow that simple instruction to point us to it at their taxi, on their taxi profile, or SoundCloud or somewhere where you can stream it and download it. If we can only stream it, then we can't download it to a folder for me to play on the show. So that's just one example of why it's a pain in the butt to do those. And you get a lot of submissions, and Ariana has to go through them and take out the stuff that's just like embarrassingly bad, which we don't get a lot of anymore, quite frankly. But, we don't want anybody's feelings to be hurt. So, and every now and again, there's somebody in the chat room who is maybe overly honest. And when something that's not very good gets played, it's like, that sucks. We don't want anybody to have that public humiliation, even though we don't even mention their name. It still hurts. So we take out the stuff that is just like, that we suspect is going to draw comments like that. Actually, we look for stuff that's kind of in the middle, where it's pretty darn good. It's very respectable, but it might need a little help here or there. But it also depends on what kind of show we're doing. Are we doing a show where it's, would you forward this or return it, where you're in the A&R hot seat, as we like to say? Sometimes we'll play forwards versus returns so you can see where the bar is set. But with you guys, if I were going to do a show, I would just ask you guys to submit music, and we'll play it for everybody to hear. But that's time consuming. That's like a 3 or 4 hour chunk out of Ariana's day. The newsletter for June just came out about 2 hours ago. Yeah, we wanted to get it out while it was still June, so it came out today. Michael, when I renew, can I get a brand new blank website? I don't understand what you mean, Jesse. I don't know Steven Citron. I know John Brahaney. He's passed away. He passed away, I don't know, like 5 years ago or so. But John Brahaney's great. He was a very dear friend of mine. Has the staff come to you in the past couple of months with a song they were super excited about or think is a smash hit? Honestly, because of COVID, it's been a while. We were starting to become a little more regular about having the whole staff come down to my office. When I say whole staff, it's 10 of us. But I've got a couch in my office and some chairs, and we all hang out and we listen to stuff, and we do themed listening days. Like one day we might listen to, it may or may not be taxi member music. Could be that we're listening to music used in advertising just because we're trying to elevate our knowledge of what that music is like and where the bar is set. So it could be that we listen to a bunch of commercials. It could be that we listen to a bunch of advertising music submitted by members. Could be that we listen to the current month's top 10. Could be that we listen to indie singer-songwriters. So there's no real rhyme or reason kind of what we pick and why we pick it and when we pick it. But we do those listening sessions. And to answer your question a little more succinctly, Darren, the last time we did one, actually, I think that was just Tom, who's our head of A&R, and Angela, who's our head screener. It might have been the entire A&R department, not the screeners, but the A&R department, and me. I don't know. All I remember is we listened to a batch of stuff, and I remember saying to Angela as we were walking out of my office, that was like one of the greatest listening sessions we've had in a long time. Just great, great music. I mean, really, Just like everything we heard in that listening session, I believe there were probably 10 or 12 different pieces of music. Every one of them was a contender. Oh my goodness, it's 5:01. Who's Fett that we were talking about? Fett, that's his whole name is Fett. He goes by the name Fett. So if you just look in Google it, you could look at it for it on Amazon. Fett's Mixing Handbook. I'm sure I didn't get all the words in there, but it'll pop up. I guarantee you it's a great read. No, not Boba Fett. Definitely not Star Wars character. Quarantini tomorrow? Why, yes. Bubba Fett. Yeah, that's the southern version. Bubba Fett is the Star Wars character whose flying saucer crashed in Mississippi. And he went from being Bubba Fett to Bubba Fett. Anyway, I should sign off. Good to see you guys. Missed you. Yeah, even I didn't reinstitute or reconstitute yesterday's show, even though I knew I was going to be home. I just decided that it would be nice to have a Monday off. Plus, I had a very busy Monday. So don't forget, though, we are taking Friday off for the 4th of July holiday weekend. What am I drinking today? Today I am drinking vitamin water refresh tropical mango flavor. Where the hell is... Wow, it's hard to find, but really hard to read. Refresh. It's like mango peach flavor. It's really, really good. Got a lot of sugar in it, though, so try not to drink too many of those dudes. All right. Peach margaritas are in my future. Ooh, I've never had a peach one. I do love making margaritas. I just get a headache from drinking them. All right, guys. See you mañana for another super duper exciting episode of Taxi's Quarantini Happy Hour. And don't forget, on Monday's show, which I believe is the 6th, we are going to be joined by a music supervisor who works on indie films and is also a legit world-class, like one of the 2 or 3 smartest guys in the world on vintage music. So see you then for that. Can't wait to see you tomorrow for a Quarantini Happy Hour. Don't forget to go leave something in the comments if you have any ideas what we can talk about tomorrow. I would really appreciate your help. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up and like us. And if you're not a subscriber to the channel, why don't you take the time to smash that red button and do it now. Bye, you guys.